Hello and welcome to Just the Way It Is. My name is Carl and this is episode 9 of a series of videos all about the Multistrada. So today is about sprockets, front and rear sprockets on both the 2010 through to 2014, so that's the two versions, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 if you like, and on the later 2015 to 18 version, the sprocket sizes are the same. So the front sprocket as standard from the factory is 15 teeth. The rear sprocket is 40 teeth. That is the combination that you have from factory. So there are two routes that you can go, and I'll explain the benefits of changing them and what happens. So one thought or one way of doing it is to increase the number of teeth on the rear sprocket. But there's a slight problem with that. And I'm going to over exaggerate for demonstration purposes. If you take a rear sprocket and you go from this size to this size, you have to have a much longer chain because you've got much more surface area to cover. If you go to your Ducati dealer and you ask for a rear sprocket change, they should be telling you that you need to also change the chain. So that's a new rear sprocket and a chain. That is the correct way to do it. However, there's another way which doesn't involve a change of chain, and that is to change the front sprocket. Now this sprocket lives on the output shaft of the gearbox. I'll do a couple of close-ups in a minute, and I think I've got some pictures of when I changed this because this was several years ago. It was one of the very early jobs I did. So this is a 14-tooth front sprocket. The original, bear in mind what we've just said, was a 15-tooth, so it's only one teeth difference. But when you change this one, you don't have to change the chain. Now, there are some problems with changing this. You're going to need some tools, some really good tools. There are things like your standard breaker bar. This is a snap-on 2-foot 24-inch breaker bar. It's not enough. The nut on the front sprocket is really, really tight. Even with two people sitting on the bike, in gear, with the brakes on, using this with an extension tube, a piece of scaffolding tube, you're putting an awful lot of tension and stress through the gearbox. So this is not the route to go. You can do it. My suggestion is you don't do it. What you're really going to need is to use some air tools. This is an impact gun or an impact wrench. This is a Chicago pneumatic gun. I've had it a long time. As a professional, you need things like this. So you're going to need some decent tools to do this job. If you don't have such things, don't attempt this at home. You'll just get it all apart and you will not be able to get that bottom sprocket nut off. So the differences: rear sprocket or front sprocket. Rear sprocket, you're going to go up in teeth. If you go up in teeth, you need to change the chain. Front sprocket, you're going to go down in teeth from 15 to 14, and you do not need to change your chain. Now on the forums, a lot of people say that it's impossible to get this off and to swap it out without cutting or delinking your chain and taking your chain completely off the bike. Nonsense. You just need to be patient. If you are a technician and you've got some experience, it's just a matter of fiddling with your hands, lifting, pulling. You might take 4 or 5 minutes extra time once the nut's off and the lock washer's been removed to actually get the chain and the sprocket off. It does come off, it's fairly straightforward, and getting it back on is even easier because I'm going to over exaggerate. You're going from this size sprocket to a much smaller sprocket. That's an exaggeration, but you're going down in teeth. So refitting is even easier, but the removal of it is possible without removing the chain. Obviously, you're going to have to unlock the tension on the back and get the chain loose, but it's a fairly straightforward process. So why? Why go to the bother of changing the gearing on your bike? Well, the Multistrada from 2010 all the way, in fact, I'm pretty sure it's all the way through, but certainly up to into 2018 with the DVT version as well, 6 gear is almost redundant. It's geared way too high, and you have to be on the autobahns at high motorway speeds to really make 6 gear work for you. It's a gear for the vast majority of the time I never used, certainly on B roads. If you're in the higher RPM ranges from 4th onwards, you're already going faster than the speed limit by a considerable margin, and the 6 gear, it's redundant. You just can't really use it. So by reducing, and this is the key thing I want to explain, by reducing the gearing making the gearing lower, you can bring that 6th gear into a range of RPM versus speed that you can use. So what do I mean? So I'll try and make this as simple as I can. I'm not going to give you the exact figures, but this is approximate so you understand the principle. So we're in 4th gear and we're traveling at 60 miles per hour. 4th gear, 60 miles per hour. With the standard gearing, if you look at your dashboard and look at the RPM, revolutions per minute, you're going to be doing, let's just say for argument's sake, 4,000 RPM. It's not exactly that, but this is just to explain things. 4th gear, 60 miles per hour, 4,000 RPM. If you lower the gearing and you're in 4th gear at 60 miles per hour, the engine speed is higher. So you might be doing 4,400 RPM. So you're thinking, what's the benefit of increasing the engine revolutions per minute for the same gear and same speed? Well, there are a couple of benefits. I'll separate it into 2. The first one is the reason why I changed the gearing. At low speed, when you're driving through villages and you're sticking to your 30 miles per hour or your 50 kilometers an hour, the Ducati's not a happy bunny. She does not like to go slow through villages. You're in 3rd gear, or you're trying to be in 3rd gear. If the village road is completely flat, you're not going uphill or downhill, it's flat. In 3rd gear, it's juddering and shaking because it's at a very awkward speed. You need to change down into 2nd, and then the revs come up, and then she's wanting to go. It's not a comfortable place to be. And it's even worse if you've got a pillion on the back, or you've got your bags, your side bags and your top box full of luggage. So by reducing the gearing, by going down 1 tooth on the front final drive sprocket, you reduce the gearing, and that makes quite a noticeable, quite a significant difference to low speed driving. And it's really noticeable. When you then drive through the same village at 30 miles per hour, 50 kilometers an hour, in 3rd gear, the RPMs are just that little bit higher, 100 or 200, maybe I think it's 300 RPM. It's not an awful lot, but it's enough to smooth out your riding experience, and you haven't got all this shaking going on. And it really makes a difference, especially if you're doing, for example, in the UK, you've got ridiculous average speed cameras with 50s, 40s, 30s. Trying to maintain a set low speed is really difficult on the Multistradas. The one thing they do not like is to go slow. They don't. So if you want to go slow, don't buy the Multistrada. So the gearing makes a difference. So how much of a difference did it make for me? Is it night and day? No, it's not night and day. Is it noticeable? Yeah, it's really noticeable, and it's even more noticeable if you carry a passenger. Your ability to hold a steady and a controlled throttle at low speed through villages is drastically improved. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit, which is not what I was aiming for, but it was very nice, is the response of the motorbike changes to throttle input. So the bike will accelerate with much more urgency or violence, whichever way you want to look at it. And I can tell you, with all your panniers removed, with the standard rear sprocket and just changing the front one from a 15 to a 14, you will be wheeling in 1st and 2nd gear without using the clutch. If that's your thing, that's what's going to happen. Even in 3rd gear, you can feel the front come up with that sprocket change. That's not something I was looking for, because this is already a fast motorbike. But what it does do, how best to describe this, on B roads, which is where most of us spend our time, you are able to have, for the same speed, same miles per hour or kilometers per hour speed, in the same gear, your revs are just that little bit higher, and it just accesses the torque range of the motor. It just seems to work really well, and it probably is. If you look on the forums, a lot of people will say that this is what the bike should have been set at from factory. It should have had a smaller front sprocket or a larger rear sprocket. So this is one modification. I used a Sprockets socket. I'm going to put some pictures up in a moment, and I'll carry on talking over. You can see the comparison between the two. This is the original sprocket. In fact, no, this isn't original. This is a JT sprocket. This was swapped out for original sizes with the rear at the first chain and sprocket change, which was before my ownership. And so Sprockets is the brand I chose to use. You've just got to be careful. One thing, there are lots of different chain types. There's 510s, 520s, 530s. You absolutely have to buy the right sprocket with the right profile, hills and dips for your chain. So make sure you buy the right one. Not all 14-tooth sprockets are suitable for your Multistrada. If you're in any doubt, have a look at the forum, or ideally speak to the manufacturer. Go to the manufacturer's website and have a look. You need to make sure that that sprocket matches the type of chain you've got, and you'll find this information stamped on the chain. So that's the first one in terms of modifications that I've done. The next one I'm going to talk about is the exhaust valve or the exhaust flap. So I'll do a separate video. See you again for the next video.